Hi, I'm Peyton Purcell, and I decided to do my Chapter 1 vlog on the article Toys by Roland Barthes. And this article talks a lot about how toys mimic the adult world, but for children. So when we are creating these toys as a society, we are basically just creating smaller, more similar versions to the adult world for these children to consume. One thing that really helped me understand it was we create toys that mimic real world occupations like the army, the post office, school, medicine, hairstyling dolls. Those are very real world occupations that just mimic the adult world and are very, very realistic. And kind of just hard concepts to grasp as children. So when they consume these toys, it's really they identify as the owner and user of these toys, and that goes hand in hand with they become the owner and user of the world instead of the creators of the world. And that is definitely not something as a society the author wants us to push. The author wants us to push creativity through these children so that we are not pushing them to continue to create our current culture, which is a little bit chaotic. We want them to be able to express themselves and be more creative and use their imagination in the real world to help influence our world for the better and change our world for the better. And the author talks about how our children are not going to be able to do that if we just hand them these real life mimics of our adult world, our existing world. The author touches a lot about how toys kind of take away really big aspects of humanity, like touch, experience, imagination, creativity, and nature. And one thing that really stood out to me was the natural, differences between wood and plastic toys. Wood is obviously more natural, whereas plastic is a product of chemistry. So when we hand children a more natural wood toy or wood product, we're giving them something more natural to touch, to experience, to use their imagination with. Whereas if we give them a plastic toy, it's pre-made, the idea is already there, the imagination is somebody else's and not theirs, so they become the owner of that and not the creator, which is what the author really wants society to start to avoid. So it goes hand in hand with these toys. There's no personal touch, no identity, anything like that. The morals and values are already somebody else's. And that to me really screams how our media and culture in this day and age, it definitely reflects in the real world. So me as a college student, I take in media and culture all day, every day, and it's really hard in this day and age to come up with my own morals, my own values, and really decide for myself who I want to be and what I want to do. And it's kind of similar for these children is when they're handed something that's already created and already has the attached moral values, the societal values, things like that to it, they lose their own personal identity. And that is something that even I as a college student have to work through, is scrolling through social media. You see opinion after opinion after opinion, and you really have to work hard to make up your own mind and become your own person, and that's something that's really difficult to do in the real world. Kind of relating to that concept, one thing that really stood out to me that the author wrote about was how there are very sex and gender-based toys. So if you think about the dolls for girls, cars for guys whole deal, it's really discouraging as a little girl and as a little boy to grow up in a world where you're already defined in what your interests should and should not be. So that's something that also it continues to grow with these children, because I know that it continues to grow with me and my friends. As the older we get, the more we think we're supposed to go one way and we're influenced to go another way, and we really have to sit with ourselves and realize what the kind of people we want to be, and whether or not we want to play with dolls or whether or not we want to play with cars. And that's something that should not be stunted, especially at the level of childhood. And that's another thing that the author really emphasizes. So I believe what the author is trying to say in this article is that if we throw and force this kind of culture on these children as these toys that mimic adult life, we are stunting their creativity and their imagination. So when they grow to be adults, and a college student like me, my creativity, my imagination is already gone. My mind is already made up for me, and that's something that, I mean, I don't I don't really like to happen. I want to be able to come up with my own ideas and make up my own mind, and I think that's the lesson that this author is really trying to encourage, is that it starts at the childhood level. We need to be able to let these children be creative and use their imagination so that when they become adults, it's like second nature. So, yeah.